Hello and welcome to the video on attracting members to service. This is one of the 3 issue discussion topics, IDTs, from the 2018-2020 conference cycle. Take a few seconds to imagine if you had never had the opportunity to hear the NA message. Where might you be right now? It can be easy for us to lose track of why we do what we do. Remember, service is making our message available to save other addicts' lives in much the same way our lives were saved.
This is the vision for NA service. The second bullet point speaks to our purpose, this video, and what we are striving for. Every member, inspired by the gift of recovery, experiences spiritual growth and fulfillment through service.
Spiritual benefits of service. Just a few excerpts from our literature. Just for today, May 1st, self-worth and service. When most of us arrived in Narcotics Anonymous, we had very little self-worth to salvage. Many members say that they began to develop self-esteem through being of service early in their recovery. Something just short of a miracle occurs when we begin to have positive impact on others' lives through our service efforts.
Just for today, August 6th, the joy within. When have we found joy? When we've offered ourselves in service to others without expectation of reward. Basic text, spirit of service. When I started service work, I realized how sick I was. Attention-seeking, self-centeredness, selfishness, resentment, the desire for revenge, and many other character defects got in the way and caused problems for other members. One day at a time, our fellowship continued its growth, and I grew up and got wiser as well. A little at a time, I got in touch with humility, God-centeredness, acceptance, forgiveness, and other spiritual principles.
Let's look at the service structure diagrams. This first diagram is an overview of the structure from the group to the World Service Conference. A number of different variations on the structure are captured in this diagram. One of the core principles of the service system is flexibility. Groups join together to provide services in whatever structure they agree makes most sense for their circumstances.
This diagram illustrates World Services, including the World Service Board and World Service Conference. These diagrams help us to visualize the structure, but the diagrams only tell part of the story. What keeps most of us involved in service for years is not about the processes or structure. It's the personal growth and spiritual gifts we receive.
Put very simply, conference participants repeated during the online conference participants meeting to put together this session that there needs to be time for members to learn about the service system. Of course, we could take an entire 90-minute session reviewing the details of the service system, but we want to spend most of our time together in this video about how to attract members. We will briefly run through some introductory basics. The first concept explains the purpose of the service system. To fulfill our primary purpose, the NA groups have joined together to create a structure which develops, coordinates, maintains services on behalf of NA as a whole.
The basic text introduction provides this guidance. Everything that occurs in the course of NA service must be motivated by the desire to more successfully carry the message of recovery to the addict who still suffers. If we can keep these two things in mind, why the service structure exists and what must always motivate our service work, we are off to a really good start. It is easy to get overwhelmed when you're new to NA service. We use many abbreviations and acronyms and specialized terms. But Really, it always comes down to these basic principles. The service system exists to fulfill our fellowship's primary purpose, and everything we do in service should be motivated by the desire to more successfully carry the message.
There are many resources that can help explain the service system to you, including a guide to local service, which is posted on NA.org. But probably the most valuable resource is more experienced members. Don't be afraid to ask questions and don't let anyone chase you away from doing service. NA belongs to all of us, and it's up to each of us to do our part.
Large group discussion. What would NA look like without service? Why is service such a significant part of the NA program?
Here are some service veterans sharing their experience, and we thank them for participating.
Go ahead.
All right. I don't think that Narcotics Anonymous would exist without service commitments. Nothing that we do is paid. So service becomes essential to maintaining Narcotics Anonymous, both at a level where we coordinate the groups and at each individual group level, as well as individuals with sponsors and support. We wouldn't exist without service. Okay, so I've benefited a great deal from service, especially when I moved to Tucson, already having quite a few years of recovery. Finding a way that made me feel a part of was taking the minimum security prison SACRAC meetings in with Maria and Phyllis, where we would meet for dinner before and then go to the meeting. And it gave me a place where I belonged and felt like I had achieved something in the way of friendship in a place that very often folks don't come up to you and rush up and say, gee, you're new here, but you've got 20 years, so who cares? And I was grateful that there was a way to belong.
Pretty confusing. It would present it would be a true presentation of self-centeredness as an organization as a whole. Why is service such a significant part of the NA program? Because reaching out is the most important part of the NA program. Serving others is important. Keeping the program is like keeping the program's doors open as a whole, from a worldwide point of view.
Small group discussion. How have I personally benefited from NA service? How has it helped me stay clean and enhanced my recovery?
I took the suggestion of getting involved in service the first day I started NA, and 15 years later I'm still doing service, and I'm not sure I could have done it my time without it. I was kind of shy, and it took me out of myself, and I'm not so shy anymore. And it's just, to me, it's the only thing that's worked for me.
Imagine it's 5 years from now. NA is growing in your area and members are excited about doing service. There are plenty of volunteers for each position and elections are contested. What has changed to make this possible? What about your NA community has made service so attractive? Large group discussion. What changes can we make to our attitudes and practices to attract populations that are missing, such as younger members, to service?
Try and make service more attractive to people who aren't participating. We should focus on the spirit of unity and the positive aspects of service. I think that more often than not, people talk about service in the context of the personalities rather than the principles. And I think that if we avoid doing that, We'll avoid scaring away people who might be willing to participate and talk about the positive aspects of the personal benefits and the benefits to the fellowship that come with being of service.
The best way, I think, to promote attraction, have sponsors and whatever, talk to people and let them know the benefits that you get from service.
So how can we all work together, the newer member and the experienced member that may have been in service but has left, and not have the various attitudes that we can come across in that, well, this is the way we did it, this is the only way to do it, or the newer member, oh, I've got new ideas and new thoughts, and that's the only way to go about doing it. To work together and find a compromise to best carry our message, because that's all of our ultimate goal, is to better carry our message.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think a more loving attitude from the older members that would allow the newer members to make their own mistakes. Instead of saying we tried that and it didn't work, allow them to do it and offer them guidance instead of just shutting them down. And I think that would get rid of the them and us attitude, because I find that a lot with the younger members. You just don't understand, and we don't, because we needed to make those mistakes to learn. They need to make those mistakes to learn. Especially with younger members, it's hard to. Some of those kids, I could be their grandma, But, I mean, yeah, there's a lot that we could do to reach out. But I think that's the biggest one, is getting younger people back into service and giving them the confidence to go out and learn.
All right, yeah. I'm not sure that there's anything an NA community can do to make it more attractive for service commitments in terms of making the NA community attractive. NA community is attractive in general because of what we give one another. The idea of attending service committee meetings and dealing with the conversations and the reality of who we are when we're not sitting in a nice structured NA meeting is something else altogether. The way to make that more attractive is for us to really focus on the fact that it's principles before personalities. Thanks.